So let me ask you this. So most sales books teach us that we should get the buyer talking 70% of the time or more. Any of these books, they always teach 70%, 60%. What are some of the ways that you would recommend for thrivers to get their boss, talking or their customer talking? Because ultimately the customer is the boss. What would you do to recommend to kind of get somebody talking?
Man, a great exercise that I love to do is I love to ask people that know me well these simple questions. Clay, if you could wave a magic wand and change 3 things that I do that you don't like and take them away, and then wave that magic wand and say, hey, take these 3 things and make them better, what would you do?
Well, one, I would make you taller because I think that it would be even. I mean, you're already 6'11". I'd want you to be at least 7'11" because that would be incredible.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, I would. How big is your foot?
That's a personal question.
Okay. Well, so I don't know. I would definitely go taller, and then just more of the awesomeness as you. And then in terms of changing, I don't know. I could minimize, man. I sometimes you're just too awesome and it's overwhelming.
So that is for someone that knows you well, for someone that you don't have a great relationship with, and you want to go to that boss. So ask them for one thing. If there's one thing that you could have me stop doing in my sales call, and one thing that you could have me emphasize more on, what would those things be?
Now, it seems like you also do that with the doctors when you're selling directly to them. You might say, well, what can we do to improve our service?
Sure.
If somebody's upset or if you're not getting their business, you'll ask them that, right?
Yeah, I think you talk about what can we do to improve, but you also highlight the points of what you do well. So that kind of sandwich approach, you highlight what you do well. Hey, how'd that work out for that patient? I really worked hard to get that for him. Did I get that the other night when I came by at 6 o'clock? And by the way, I know we had to wait a little bit for that, so I do want to let you know that your opinion that you gave me the other day has actually helped improve our business, so thank you.
Now, sales is not just for good talkers. We know that.
Yeah.
Now, we also know this, though. Sales is, point number 2, sales is not about who can be the most aggressive. Who can be the craziest Viking on the phone. Jerry Vass, the author of Soft Selling in a Hard World, he says, selling is problem solving, not hustling. Aggressiveness propels you into the mean streets, but ruins sales. Mickey, how have you been able to learn this concept over the years? Because you're an aggressive guy.
Sure.
How do you balance being persistent with being overly aggressive? How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back to early in my career, probably the 3rd year that I was in, and I was selling a product that had multiple competitors. And at that time, this physician's office, we called it a cattle call, where basically they would have all of us reps come in, and you got about 4 seconds to sell what you had, feature benefit, and then move to the next rep. Well, my competition sat directly across from me.
Ooh.
And I saw him there every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. We had to go there, and I saw him. And I thought, I'm just going to be ultra aggressive because he was kind of laid back. And every time I would come in and I'd hold that paper up in front of that physician, I'd say, and this is why, look at this thing, why, this is number, look at that chart right there. And then he would come by and he would say, hey, doctor, I just want to remind you, we've had great success. I really appreciate your business. And I would go, how does he do it? How can he sit back so reserved and I'm going at him and giving feature benefit after feature benefit? And I realized that you have to adapt to who your buyer and your customer is. So I was coming at them with a director approach when they wanted a value quality time approach.
Now, sales is not about talking at people. Jerry Vass, author, says most salespeople won't stop talking long enough to let the buyer make a decision. I know that because of your personality and your height, you tend to be the center of attention wherever you are. It seems like, but yet you always make the person you're talking to, the doctor, always feels like he's the center of attention.
Sure. You
know what I mean? You naturally kind of draw attention. You go to Walmart, people are always like, who is this guy? How are you able to do that? How are you able to put the center of attention back off yourself, but onto the client or the prospect?
Well, it's a mentality first, and that's that mentality that no one cares about you till you care about them. So ask them about them, invest in their life, talk to them about what's important to them, and then take the student approach, make them the teacher, and say, hey, I've heard you had a lot of great success here, and a lot of the other physicians in town really look at you as kind of a thought leader in that. Can you tell me maybe why you've had great success? Quiet and listen.